So you're based in Porto. I'll explain a little bit your work to people. I would say you do a little bit of everything in terms of scale, public, private, installation too. So it's probably what defines your work is probably more of your approach and also this connection you have with artistic installation. There is like a really big, you say it in your description, I took this sentence like, that you're working on spatial and material experimentation in the pursuit of creating immersive and sensorial appealing spaces. I thought it was really interesting because we can see this when we see your project and this work on material and color and all of this. On top of your practice and your architecture, I would like to stretch the fact that you're also a bit of everything. You know, you're a teacher, you're an architect, you're an artist, a curator, you're a founder, you have a gallery, you do everything. And I think that's pretty interesting. So welcome.
Thank you. That's very optimistic.
Really?
Yes, I would say so. So I'm actually an architect for a long period now. So there has been time to experiment different things. So I'm running actually my second office. So I've had a practice before that started on 2008. We were very fresh architects at the time. And on a period that building or constructing buildings was not very much of an option. So we started by doing ephemeral architecture and installations for the public space, but mostly learning how to build spaces in a non-preconceived basis. So we were starting to think of this capacity of looking to different materials and try to create construction details out of these materials. So to stretch the potential of materiality in order to create more appealing or more interesting spaces. So many times we were actually doing small research systems in order to get results that we didn't have the notion at the beginning of the process. But this was actually a very interesting process on this small architectural studio we were running. We were called like architects because we were like architects, we were not real architects. And meanwhile, yeah, there was time for running a gallery together with André Garcia from Architectural Affairs. It's the Porto Gallery of Architecture. It's a very small gallery, 6 square meters, where we run 4 different exhibitions a year. So yeah, I would like to say that we live around architecture. So we are interested in building architecture. We are interested in learning more from others. And that's mostly why we have the gallery, in order to create networks, to know people that we like. Yeah, and then there was the opportunity of start teaching. I started teaching actually in Isqueté, in Lisbon. Then I was creating this this online course, which is an online platform of online courses on several creative areas, which we did around ephemeral architecture. And this year I actually started teaching in FAUP, which is in the building that Porto Academy is running. So it's actually a privilege to be there already. And it will be for sure a privilege to receive a lot of students from Portugal, but also from abroad, to create a team to do interesting things during the week. It will be for sure an intense week. We are planning small trips. We actually did just finish like some months ago a small bar. It's a beer bar. So we'll have our students there. I don't know if every day, but some of the days for sure. Fernando Guerra is coming to photograph it just next week. So we'll try to make it intense, but also fun. For us, that's the most important thing, to enjoy what you're doing, to believe what you're doing, and to do it in a good mood.
Of course, and you were saying that for you it was important to have this gallery and this sort of side project to make connection, to have this network. And I feel the Porto Academy is a bit of this. As you're saying, it's not just to be locked in a workshop. It's like to go have a beer, to visit around, to meet people. There are like all these series of lecture every day. And this is also how you open a little bit your vision and the things, I guess.
Yeah, that's for sure. So people from Porto are known to be very good in receiving people. So we love the city we live in, and we like to show the city to the people. Of course, we are in the architectural network, and we'll be pleased to present people to other architects, to show them buildings. Some of them are known, some of them are not known. We were discussing about the possibility of going to the swimming pool by Caesar, but to have a bath there, not only to visit, so to use it as users, which is very important as well. So there will be many opportunities. Hopefully the weather will be helping. So the weather is getting better and better in Porto. So we are looking forward to this moment, actually.
Well, wait for me. I'm coming to the pool. I want, because I went to Porto 2 years ago, I think, and I wanted to see this project. I arrived and it was in obra, impossible to enter. It was like in construction, or I don't know what they were doing.
There was some maintenance construction work and also some extension, some recent extension by overseas as well. But now it's fully working, so it will be good to be back also, because I was there like when I was a child. I remember to have some birthday parties there, so kids were meeting there. So I have some memories. Of course, I've been visiting the building after as an architect, but fully dressed, so it's a different experience. But I would say these buildings, of course, you look at them as fantastic. I have to experience them as a user, and I would say that it's very important to spend some time on the changing rooms, so that your eyes adapt to this darkness there's inside, where you start to see things, and then you come out and the light is like embracing you. So there are experiences that need time in order that you feel them, and I think that's very intentional in this building in particular. So for sure, I would like to get the students there.
Great. And I didn't know you were a teacher at the FAUP, so it means that you will be like at home. And I think it's a difference, because all the teachers that will be coming here are not teacher there. So like, how is it for you? Like what approach do you have of the building? And you know what I mean? It's a bit different, because are you as obsessed as the building, or as will be the guests that come here to visit it too?
For sure. So first thing I should tell you is that I'm now a teacher there, but I was a student there as well. So I think it's really a privilege to study there, because this building is a lesson of architecture. So while you're growing as an architect, you will look to different details on the building. So that's very interesting. So there's some kind of complexity, which is not obvious from the beginning, that you start to understand as soon you start to experiment it, and as soon you start to realize different things on architecture. So for instance, CISA is designing in several towers, is designing the classrooms with the same dimensions, but in different orientations, creating different windows, in order that the students realize what's the importance of opening a window north, a window south, or for instance, changing the height of the classroom, the way you enter the classroom. So there are slight changes that seem non-intentional, but of course they are teaching the users what difference does this difference make, for instance. So everything, for instance, the windows, they are fully designed by CISA. So there are also a detail of architecture that then you start to look. When you're a first year student, you're not looking at those kind of things. So yeah, year after year, you're starting to realize why things are like this. And that's of course a very interesting experience as a student, and now of course as a teacher. It's something that we try to do the most, which is to use the building as a case study, because it serves for anything you're teaching. So it's very important for that. And of course, if you have this incredible building, if you're inhabiting this incredible building, it's just stupid not to use it, because of course it's a experience that's there to be enriched from the users. Yeah, for sure.
No, totally. And I guess lots of people think you're so lucky to be teacher or student there, because it's a sort of a pilgrim to go and see this place. So it's really, really a nice site. And do you have a little idea of what you will do there? Well, will it be linked to what you teach as a teacher in the FAUP, or do you have something different in mind?
No, it will be completely different. So it will be much more related with the practice we are running that you did describe in the very beginning of this conversation. So we like to believe that the practice we are running operates between two fields, that we don't really separate them. But this is, of course, a very long discussion that will not fit in this Instagram Live, which is art and architecture. So we do not consider ourselves as artists, but we operate on the artistic field. So we do installations that do not have a function, that sometimes are something with like a manifesto or this. So we do operate in spatial installations for the public space. I would say we do not do sculptures. Our sculptures are possible to use as a user, to inhabit. So we do spatial sculptures for the public space. And this is very important in order to create a practice that operates between conventional, let's call it like this, architecture, and these artistic installations, because it's, in order to have a coherence, we are every time questioning ourselves as architects as well. So we try that this immersive or intense experience that we create on the artistic installations, that they are also there for the buildings we are creating. So how can the space be more intense? And we are talking, of course, about the senses, how to relate with the human senses in order to make the experience more rich. And of course, we are talking about the visuals, but also the textures, the smell of the space. And it's actually something that we use as instruments in a very conscient way to this spaces that we do. So we do a lot of pavilions, exhibition pavilions, temporary pavilions, and actually the duration, if they are ephemeral or if they are not ephemeral, is something that is also changing. So we are now being invited to create artistic installations for the public space, which are no longer ephemeral, but they are there to stay. So that's also a different demand, and it demands for different answers as well, because to work with ephemeral spaces allow you to explore like themes like fragility, like decomposition, or to take advantage of the durability of the installation. And this is also something that sometimes changes, and when it changes, it's a different exercise. So mostly we are very motivated to find the challenge on each challenge that we are receiving from different clients. Some are public, some are private, some are very big projects, some are very small projects. And we actually tend to like more the small projects than the big projects, which is very curious, I would say.
Oh no, for me it's not curious. For me it's perfectly normal, because it's like the exact same process, but as a scale that you can sort of grasp and control, and the timeline is also more, I would say, agradable. It's like you can just see all the steps. And I would say that I was looking all your project a little bit more attentively to prepare a little bit the talk, and there is, for me, I'm very impressed by the coherence that you have between, let's say, the installation you do in the city that are like, you have a public space, it's a room, and you put the installation. And then the reverse, that's like you have artist pieces and you create a bubble to put them inside. And both of them have this same game of materiality and like shape and how you see the things. And it's really, really interesting that you are able to have the same process at these two very different scale. I was looking like all the project of, which is very, very like not so common, but the temporary, it's a very hard word to say for me, temporary.
Say it ephemeral, it works the same.
Ephemeral museum you're doing, the one in Lisbon, the one in Sao Paulo, and all of this is like, I thought were super interesting project.
Yeah, that's a learning that we have done mostly from this office that we were running before, that was this like architects. We were doing a lot of things in different countries as well, and it was mostly about this, not starting to know where we are reaching. We were we were getting information how to make it while doing on research, like searching on new materials, searching on new opportunities, how to explore this material until the very limit. And that was very interesting because then you can do it also with more conventional materials, even if it's not so obvious. How to do the same with stone, or how to do the same with wood, how to do the same with glass or with metal. So it's actually something we have done because we were full of energy, full of power. We were very young and we wanted to build things. You know, we are just finishing our university. It was 2008. There was a world crisis, and the architectural offices were firing people. So people with many more competencies that we had at the moment were actually unemployed, and we wanted to find a way to build things. We started actually by doing a temporary bar that became viral in the zine and all these websites at the moment, 2008, which was made of IKEA boxes that were sold at the time at €2 or something. So we were doing a facade that was actually inspired by a stadium by Herzog de Meuron, but in a very do-it-yourself system. And this energy that we had, how to look at these elements as constructive elements, how to make a door out of some dip of the box, how to make an opening in an unusual way, and all these challenges that we were making ourselves led to the creation of an architectural object that was also a lesson of architecture for us, but in a non-conventional way, not the way you are taught on the universities, but there's something that you can learn in these kind of exercises and then apply in, let's say, more conventional buildings or non-temporal buildings. And I would say that that's the phase we are now, which is not the transition, but the accumulation of both practices. So how to have this kind of approach in, let's say, more standard programs.
That's, well, I guess for the IKEA box, you were okay to experiment by yourself, but when I see what you're doing now, as you say, for more like less ephemeral things and like a bit bigger scales, do you work closely with like craftsmen or things like this? Like how do you experiment on material like, at this different scale?
For sure. So I'm also the commissioner of the biggest construction fair in Porto. And that's very important to say, because what I'm doing there, it's mostly to help them that the fair become relevant again. So this was a fair called Concreta that years ago was like the place to be when it was happening. And then over time, it was losing visitants. And we are trying to bridge the gap between architects and the industry. And so I'm every time very motivated to visit the industries, to learn the construction processes of different materials. We have just been last week or 2 weeks ago to an industry of styrofoam in order to understand how they do it, how can we interfere in the construction processes in order to create different products. So we have this very straight relation with the constructions, with the manufacturers. And by this, we try to prototype different experiences, different options, and of course, learning while doing, and mostly learning who does it since ever. So we are just trying to find the very little difference that makes the difference, you know? But yes, we love to be, to immerse into these industries and to learn about the processes, to learn about the machines, and to learn how can we interfere on these processes in order to create something new.
No, I agree totally. And what you're saying about the material fair, I think it's a very interesting point because as architects, depend of the school and how you learned, but we are a little bit considered as artists, and we would rather go to lecture and festival and art places instead of to material fair. While in the end, I had the chance to go to the one in Basel like 2 or 3 years ago, and it really not opened my mind, but changed a little bit my vision of the thing, because even if you're into conceptual phases or whatever, just to know how the thing works and the that possibility you can have working with the material is a real point, and something we might not be in contact enough when we're at school.
Yeah, I think information is everything, and if you learn how to manipulate these materials, how you can get the most out of them, then you're in a better position that if you do not know about that. And actually many artistic practice are based on the exploration of some material. And of course, being architects, we are every day dealing with materials. Some of them are building materials, some of them are not building materials. But if you learn how to get the most out of this, then you have much more tools in order to create something new, to create some interesting experiences. So it's not about the need to be new or the need to be fresh, but it's mostly about what motivates the things that we are doing. Yeah, it's how to learn and to create something. That's what motivates us. Yeah,
totally. I'm going to ask you a tricky question. Think twice in case not to have any problem with disclosure. What are you working on at the moment in the office? What is like a cool project you have that's going on?
So what are we working on? That's the question I was not I was not expecting.
You were hoping. Yeah, that's why I say it's a tricky question. But you can lie to me and speak about a project from 6 months ago. I will never know. But
yeah, I'm just.
It's a little bit like what's the present of your practice, if you prefer.
So I can explain you some because I would like to refer these very different scales that we approach. That's an interesting thing. So we are working on a piece of furniture that we cannot say much more because there's a contract that does not allow us.
That's why I said disclosure. Be careful of disclosure before.
But the thing is, when we received this invitation, for instance, we were trying to not make a design. So we did not make a design. We look at this piece of furniture as a constructive system. So how to express a constructive system into a piece of furniture, and that's the challenge that we made ourselves, and we are very happy with the result. That hopefully you will see. At least if you're coming to Porto, I will invite you to come to our office, and you will see it there in styrofoam, and you will understand what I'm saying about. So we are working on this scale, on the scale of furniture, for instance. We just finished the detailed architectural drawings of 8 patio houses in Mafra, near Lisbon. So it's something completely different, for instance. And what else? I don't know. I'm trying to relate to what people are.
I don't know, but both projects sounds very good.
Yes, I'll be pleased to show you and the students of Porto Academy. In our office. Yeah, that will be very nice.
Yeah, I feel it's also a point of the Porto Academy to be able to see things that are like ongoing, because Porto there is a lot of thing going on, and for me it's really avant-garde in a way, because you're not afraid of test things and all of this. And I feel for your office to work at the scale of furniture, it's a perfect fit. So I want to see this.
Yes, yeah, we are very happy with the results, and we are looking forward to see it produced. So we are now working on the prototype on the industry part, because we did already this one-to-one model in styrofoam, as I told you. Of course, we cannot use it in styrofoam, but we can address the proportion. We can address if the intention of the concept is perceivable by the user, which we believe it is. And it's mostly about that. So it's not about creating a design based on authorship. It's much more about learning on the materials we are using and creating a way of doing. Yeah, it's mostly that.
Very interesting. Well, do you want to say anything else, or do we stop here? We are at the limit of our time. We are 29 minutes into it.
Okay, I would say it was a big pleasure to be here speaking with you. It was also a big pleasure to accept the invitation from Rodrigo and Amélia to be in Porto Academy, because of course, Porto Academy, it's an interesting event that's happening all years. Of course, let's forget the COVID years. And every time a group of very interesting architects are coming to Porto. And as you told, it's a very interesting moment to shorten the relationships between students, between practitioners, between architectural buildings that are known and also that are as good as those but are not so known. So I would say it will be an intense week, and we are very proud and happy to be the hosts, or to be part of the host team of this Porto Academy edition.
Thanks for the words. And by the way, we can say a little coucou to Amélia and Rodrigo that are at this moment. They are in Versailles, next to Paris, for the Porto Academy visiting Versailles. So they are doing like a short condensed version of the Porto Academy directly in France. So I hope they're having fun. If you go on their Instagram, you will see they started to post picture. It looks really, really nice. And it gives me the will to see like even more how it's going to be in Porto. So thanks a lot for the talk. We will see in Porto. The event is from the 20th to the 27th of July. I think it's still time to join. You should come if you're not still subscribed. And if not, for sure, you can follow everything on the social media, and we will be super happy to share everything with you. So thanks a lot, Diogo, and have a nice evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.